Support for BTG is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in below-the-waist grooming for men and women, if that is what you need. Manscaped offers precision tools for your family jewels. Use code GRIND20, that is GRIND20, GRIND20, for 20% off on your first or your 100th order. Use code GRIND20 for 20% off, plus, don't forget the plus free shipping. That is GRIND20, the promo code for 20% off and free shipping on your Manscaped order. They offer so many things. The Lawnmower 3.0, their newest addition to the family. They got so much. They got this ball toner crop reviver from Manscaped, the best in the business. They got the crop preserver, the ball deodorant right here. Remember, code GRIND20 for 20% off. And we got our essentials in this beautiful handbag made by Manscaped. Go check them out today. They have Ryan Fiore, the vice president of Manscaped. Man, these guys are crazy awesome. Go check them out today. Remember that promo code GRIND20 when you go and get that Manscaped, the lawnmower. You can even get the 2.0, the 3.0. They're all on there. I suggest this new and improved 3.0 Manscaped tool. It works great. As you can see, the mustache is doing very well. So go check them out. They support us, so go and support them. Support for BTG is brought to you by Manscaped. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another episode of Behind the Grind with your one and only host, Simon Romero.
Joining us today is part of the broadcasting crew for the UFC, Mr. Brendan Fitzgerald. How are you today, my friends?
Hey, Simon. Great to be on with you, pal.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So, what are you up to today? I know we got the UFC tomorrow. You got to be a busy guy, no?
Yeah, I'm actually off this weekend for the pay-per-view, but I'll turn my camera. Can we see the? Oh, there's the UFC
We can
sign.
see it.
So
Yeah.
I'm at the Apex, but if I go inside, I got to mask up. But I got the gambling show today, so yeah, man, keep him busy through the next week, through the end of the year, and then we'll get a few weeks off before 2021 gets rolling.
Yeah. So I want to discuss that. As commentators, that's got to be a little bit annoying. You have to wear a mask walking in, walking out, wherever you go. So has that been a challenge, I guess, for you throughout this time?
No, I mean, it's just one of those things, man. The masks are a reality pretty much everywhere you go. So, whether you're a broadcaster going into, whether you're us going into the UFC Apex to do your work, or whether you're going into a grocery store or people going into offices or wherever they work, masks are generally part of it when you're not at home. We don't have to wear the mask on the broadcast. So, it's not like we're totally locked down and people are tested and cleared. So it hasn't been too bad.
Yeah, so you've been doing this for a while, and now you got these masks and stuff, so it's a little bit different. But I want to get into how you got into this broadcasting gig. So talk to me from the start. How did you get involved in this?
Well, from when I was a kid, I just wanted to be in sports broadcasting. Once
Really?
I figured out it was a career, yeah, man. I love watching sports on TV like a lot of kids do, and just happen to love the call of the game. And when I watch the game, you notice the guys on the TV in the suits before the game starts, right? Or
Yeah.
in Sports Center. So when I found out that was a career and that was a way to make a living, I was in. Like, I just, if I couldn't play sports, I wanted to talk about sports. So every decision I made was based on being a sports broadcaster or writer or everything like that. I hosted a sports talk radio show when I was in high school. I looked for a good communication school for a college. And it's changed, what I've wanted to do in the field, whether it's like in the studio or host a talk show or call live events, which is, the lion's share of what I do now. It's changed, but the industry is always where I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so about the industry, was MMA the vision that you wanted to be covering, or no?
No, MMA was not on my radar that much until I started working for the UFC. I mean, I grew up a little bit outside of Boston. So, Boston's a pro sports town. I loved hockey. Hockey was my number one sport. So Bruins and the Patriots and the Red Sox and the Celtics and just traditional sports. And, really, if you ask me what my dream job was all coming up, it was to anchor Sports Center. I just
Mm.
loved Sports Center. The highlight shows were just such a big part of growing up a sports fan in the 90s when there was no social media. There was no internet to just see a highlight and see a score whenever you wanted. You had to read the newspaper or tune into Sports Center to see the highlights every day. So, that's kind of how I came up in the traditional sports world, and I had a good career in that. And then this UFC opportunity popped up at a point in my career where I was looking for a job, and lo and behold, I have a new favorite sport and a new favorite job that I've ever had.
So we're not going to talk about Boston, who beat out my Raptors last season, but have you been?
Are you north of the border?
I'm in Canada, yeah.
Oh, awesome, man! I didn't know that.
Yeah. But what are you thinking about how they're doing so far? They're making their trades and everything. What do you watch the team a little bit?
What, the NBA?
Yeah, like your Boston Celtics, I guess.
NBA is the fourth place by a mile. I've never totally been into the NBA. I mean, like I said, I grew up playing hockey. Hockey was just number one. Played it, through the club level in college, and I just loved the hell out of the Bruins. The Celtics were bad for part of my childhood too. Larry Bird retired when I was like 10 years old.
Oh,
and
boy.
then they went in the tank. They weren't that great. Then they were really bad. And then they kind of came up with Paul Pierce. And I don't know. I just didn't ride with them. So when they won the title in 2008, I think it was, when they got Garnett and Ray Allen, I felt fake if I jumped in and was really rooting for the Celtics. I didn't ride with them in their low days. So the NBA is it's cool. I've had some good NBA experiences, in different places that I've lived, in terms of games that I've seen and people that I've met. But, it's not really a league that I follow in and out.
Yeah, you got to be honest with us.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But I do, LeBron gets way too much hate. I like LeBron.
You like LeBron? Yeah.
That's the thing. I like great athletes. I like just great athletes that are, so good and transcendent, and ones that when they're gone, we're going to be sorry that they're gone. And LeBron gets so much hate for all this stuff, whether he flops or all this. And, man, he's just one of the best of all time. Let's enjoy it while it's here. You know what I mean? Kobe died, so unexpectedly, and everybody can't believe that he's gone. Yeah. And, he had a lot of haters all the way up, too. And it's you got to remember, these are people. They're trying their best. They're achieving amazing things. So, that's where I jump off on the NBA. I like the greatest of the great.
So 3 years ago, I guess it was, that about 3 years, 2 days ago, I'm pretty sure it was that 3-year anniversary. So talk to me about that journey, that 3 years. What's been the most memorable thing for you so far?
Man, it's been awesome. I always remember December 9th, and I actually started with the UFC a little bit before that, technically, with the Contender Series that summer, but December 9th was the first UFC card that I called, and I didn't think it was that much of a bigger deal going into it until the day of the show, and then I kind of realized how big of a deal it was.
Is that when the nerves kicked in, I guess?
Yeah, man, I was super nervous, and I was at a point in my career where I didn't get that nervous. You're always nervous when you're in a new position, when you're in front of new people, working with new people. But I was at 12 years in, or 10 years into my broadcasting career at that point, and the nerves just rocked me, man, that day, earlier that day. And I had to sit in the corner and meditate and just let the palms sweat for a little bit and kind of get back to it, because I was feeling good all weekend and everything. And then when I got to the arena and we had 2 or 3 hours until the show, I just started feeling it in a different way. But, luckily it's, nerves are your body's way of telling you that something's important. So I always remember that, you know what I mean? If you're nervous about something, it's because it's important, whether it's, proposing to somebody or getting married or something in your professional life or a scary, dangerous situation. So that's what you always got to remember. And as far as your question about the 3 years, here I am rambling, man. I'll talk forever. Yeah, man. I've just been blessed with having a great opportunity with the UFC, loving the people that I work with, and obviously the ones that stick out, like Mexico City is still a big thing where I went under the table. Calling, I haven't called a lot of title fights because of the nature of my position as kind of of our number 2 guy, but Uriah Faber returning in his home city of Sacramento and getting a knockout. Cowboy Cerrone on the 25th anniversary UFC show getting a finish and notching the record for most finishes and most wins. So I've been lucky to have some great moments along the way over 3 years.
Of course. So talking about title fights, we got this title fight tomorrow night, Figueiredo versus Moreno. You have kind of that insider view of how that's going to go. So who are you calling for that one?
Well, I don't pick fights because I never want to pick fights. I'm close to the athletes, and then who knows if I call Moreno's next fight or call Figueiredo's next fight or whatever it is. So I never pick fights. And the thing that's funny is, like, as much of an expert as I am, because I follow the sport so closely and know the fighters and kind of inside the ropes, so to speak, it's still next to impossible to figure out what's going to happen. I mean,
Division is making that very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that he finishes fights the way that he does, because the flyweight division can be a lot of fun, even when it goes to a decision, because they move so fast and their skills are lightning quick and they're durable and there's a lot of things that make that weight class fun. But for him to finish guys at the rate that he is just it's very different from any other fighter that we've seen in there.
100%. So another thing I want to talk about, you talked to Brandon Moreno the other day, I believe it was. Talk to me about this podcast. How long have you been doing? It's like your own little talk show. How long have you been doing that?
Right. So I started it in April of 2019. So a little more than a year. And, you know, I didn't have a schedule at first. I wasn't clinging to like one episode per week. And I just wanted to interview people. I love the art of the interview. It's fun to do a proper interview where you're focused on them and you're following up and you have a strategy to it. So I started doing it. I liked it. And I've done some of it for the UFC, but just the way that it falls in the production kind of aspects that we have, I would do one every few months or whatever. And I was like, I want to do it more. So with the, with the current technology that we deal with, anybody can start an interview show, right? Like you have here. So I just thought with my experience, with, what I wanted to do more of, which was interviewing, and then with my accessibility, my access to UFC fighters, because I know them on a different level and can kind of make those contacts. So done a little more than a year, but really resumed it. I took a bit off. I took like a couple of months off, and then I resumed it in September. I didn't want to do it this way. I didn't want to do it remotely with like video chats, but just with COVID and just realizing the limitations that I would have in terms of getting face to face with all these fighters and being in the same place and whatever, it was really holding me back. So it's starting to take off now over the last, couple of months, and people seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You have to enjoy that yourself too. You get to talk to someone new once in a while.
It's so important to my job calling fights. Like I already have known Brandon Moreno a little bit, but then just chatting with him for 45 minutes and getting more of his story. Now every time I call a Brandon Moreno fight, I'm extra prepared. And before that, it was obviously I know Paul Felder really well. Max Griffin, a guy like Max Griffin, who's a welterweight, says I never have to do a ton of homework on him again. Obviously, I prep the way that I do for fights, but you talk to somebody for an hour and you're good with them. You have this connection with them, this relationship, a lot about them. So it's helped all aspects of my job.
Yeah, so you mentioned my friend Paul Felder. You got to be honest with me here. I'm going to put you on the spot. Out of the three, Bisping, Cormier, Felder, or we can even include Anik. We'll throw another option in there. Who's the funniest to work with?
Oh, man. Well, I don't.
Of course, they're all funny, but.
Yeah, they're great. I don't work with Anik a lot because we kind of do the same thing. So generally when Anik's working, I'm not. But he is a funny dude. I mean, Anik he's a pleasure. One of the best things about going to Fight Island for the second trip was that I did get to be in the same place with Anik for like 4 days and got to like go to some dinners with him and stuff like that. He's a funny dude. Funniest guy, DC. DC is probably the most naturally funny guy. Like everybody's down to joke around and goof around, like Bisping self-deprecating. Paul Felder's the person that I have the strongest connection with, I'd say, because we broke in at the same time and we're same age, and he's just an awesome dude. But in terms of like funny, DC is a pretty fun dude to be around.
So what's like the funniest thing he said? You got to remember that one
Well,
funny
he's just
thing.
yeah. So like, I'm from Cape Cod, right, in
Yeah.
Massachusetts, and I remember what was it? I was doing a pre-show. This was several months ago in the Apex with DC, and like I had voiced something. I had voiced something on, was it Anthony Smith? One of those like essays, right, where we're
Okay.
talking
Yeah.
about the fighters. And like our producer, who's from the next town over from me, also from Cape Cod, apparently he got in DC's ear, and he was just like, "Hey, give Fitz some, give him some jabs on the way out of this or whatever." And so DC takes it out, and he was just like, "My man Fitz from Cape Cod doing these essays. I mean, come on, like DC just makes you feel good." Like, and then
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
time in a meeting too, like this is like a year after I started with the UFC, and we were in a meeting and for a show that was coming up, and like I'm sitting at the end, and DC just walks in and he just goes, "I mean, how about my man Fitz?" He's like, they were looking for another guy. He's like, last year we were looking for another guy. We were looking for another broadcaster. You know, there was other guys that they were looking for. Fitzy got it. You got it, man. You run away with this thing. Look, you know, so he's just
Yeah.
a fun dude. And if it's not me, he's doing that to somebody else. He's just great.
Yeah. Yeah. That's gotta like make you enjoy it even more. I
He
guess.
just
Gotta, like,
it makes you feel good about it. He's one of those
yeah.
people
Yeah.
like there's a lot of people that are nice, right? Like I'm a
Mhm.
nice guy, but he has an infectious way of lifting up the whole room and making you feel good about yourself. And he
Mhm.
kind of takes turns on people. Like he'll make me feel good, then he'll make another person. You know, he does it to everybody. It's awesome.
Yeah. 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 So, like I said, I don't want to take too much time. It was a joy speaking with you. But last but not least, I want to give you the opportunity to thank anyone who's helped you along this journey so far. The floor is all yours.
Hey man, thanks for that. Thanks for having me on, Simon. You know, it's funny. Like, how old are you? Are you in college? Or are you in high school?
I'm in high school. I'm 15.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go, buddy. Way to freaking do this, man. That's awesome. You're way ahead of the game.
I
So
appreciate it.
I always thought too, like, okay, I'll go to college for this, and I'll meet some professor that's gonna transform my thinking and whatever. And that never came. Like, I didn't have that professor that just opened my eyes to the business. And I had some good teachers, you know, in school, but really, and I have to say, number one, my wife, because when you do this job, you have to move around a lot. Like we moved
Hmm.
12 times in like
Oh
12
boy.
years. You know,
Yeah.
we're setting down roots in Las Vegas, and we're happy to be here, and we love this city. And that's actually the city where we met back in 2004. But man, I worked in Wyoming. I worked in rural Texas. We moved back home to Boston. We moved to Charlotte. Now we're back in Las Vegas. Like she has been with me every step of the way, supporting the dream, kind of being along for the ride. And like some of those areas where I found those jobs, like she, you know, worked in retail and she would find a job, she'd get paid more. Like I'm the guy on TV on the news and she's getting
Yeah.
paid more, you know, because she's just the smartest person ever. So number one, my wife, who's been on this journey every step of the way, and you know, it speaks to the commitment and the belief that she had in me. And then I would say the person that taught me the most is a guy named John Sawatsky at ESPN. I don't think he's with ESPN anymore, but he was like a talent consultant and
Okay.
worked with us on like what it takes to be good on air and really what it takes to make for good interviews. That's what the most I
Hmm.
learned from him, and I've kind of applied that to different parts of the business. And it's not like I worked side by side with him a lot. He came down and did a 3-day seminar. He lived in Connecticut. I lived in South Carolina. But I would chat with him on the phone after that every once in a while. And man, did he open my eyes to just what makes for good television, what makes for compelling television, obviously how to interview, how to host a show with guests and with analysts. And I've just been able to take so much out of that little bit of time that we spent together. So, you know, obviously countless people, everybody I've worked with in the past, all the producers, people are in my ear all during fight night. Michael LaPlante, Mike Ricci, Zach Candido, our vice president of production. You know, the people that have given me the chance at every single job. There's the list will go on, and you know, in 15 years time, Simon, you're going to have a laundry list of people to thank as well when you keep climbing.
I appreciate it. Like I said, so wishing you the best of luck. I know you got your gambling show coming up, but like I said, it was awesome having you on today.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for dressing up. You're crushing it. Keep doing it, buddy. Keep doing it, man, and I'll see you at the top someday.
All right, you take care. Stealing that Michael
Thanks,
Chandler quote, I see.
That's right.
All right, talk soon.
Thanks, Simon.